Poppy Playtime has just received a brand new gameplay trailer for Chapter 3, and today we're going to be looking into it in more depth and see what we can find. Of course, I will link you below the original video to, of course, the trailer and the gameplay, but with that being said, I do want to take the time to actually break it down. Now, again, this isn't going to be massively scripted. There are going to be some points I do want to point out. I did want to do a reaction to it, but not many people are actually fond of the reactions, so I've listened and I won't be doing them going further. We're just going to be doing the sole breakdown today. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you hit like and subscribe, do all the YouTube briefings, because of course we're going to be covering Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 like mad. So let's get into this video, and of course we start with the VHS, the critters, the smiling critters VHS, and I must say it's interesting what it's displayed on. Now I only say that because in a minute we'll see I'm gonna drop this down just a tad. Oh no, I'll be fine. But as we can see, nothing new in this regard. We're used to whatever's here. And then this, but there is one big thing I want to point out here. So, of course, the emergency alert system, effective 8/8/1995 at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Playtime Company issue a workforce danger alert. Ooh, which I wonder if there's anything connected to the Kissy Missy VHS, which I'm pretty sure it will be later on the line. But of course, this is just a breakdown of this gameplay. We are going to be doing deeper dives into different topics regarding Poppy Playtime, so make sure, again, you are subscribed for them, because we've got a lot coming now. There is so much this trailer touched up on, it's mad. But as you can see, so instantly we see the alert message, but what I want to do is draw your attention to here. Now here we'll see a reflective character walk off the shot in the video. So of course they're watching this video from a distance, and of course we can't necessarily make it out, and I will try to make something of the shape or size in Photoshop and all the usual business, but I just want you to have a little quick nose and see what you see. Now, if you didn't see, it is quite big. Like, it looks to be some sort of abomination, I'll say. I do think I might have an indication of what it is per se, but I'd rather leave that for later in the video when we talk a little bit about that. But I do think this is going to have something to do with Experiment 1006. Now, we do see a little bit later in the gameplay, there's something as a homage to him, if you will, but I think we're actually seeing somewhat of his true form, and the reason why it's not Catnap we'll find very later in the video. But of course, this is an interesting topic on its own. The fact they're issuing a workforce danger alert and not specifying specifically what it is alarming in some sense. But also, what's interesting is the Playtime TV. Now, interestingly, it's called Poppytron 502. I do wonder if these numbers are mixing with anything. I wonder if it'll have something to do with the telephone in the game, because I do wonder if that'll be coded to something in particular. But again, let's continue on. And of course, have you heard the news? I don't think I'd want to hear that news, but I do wonder if that news is specifically referring to the Hour of Joy or something to do with that VH just before. I do wonder if this was a message pre-warning a specific employee within Playtime Co. from maybe Experiment 1006. And here we get a sort of backstage look at what appears to be a sort of Poppy house. Now, I would like to say that I do feel like I'm looking at a set design here, like it's part of a morning show or some kind of children's television. And of course it's an homage to Poppy, because again it's themed, as we can see at the top, with Poppy statue, and of course it's just got a lot of colourful things going on around it, including the letterbox. Again, seems very TV show themed for me, so I do wonder if we're going to be touching upon that in the future, or if this is where Poppy used to reside, as opposed to where we see her in Chapter 1 and 2 when she was shoved in that box. I think this might have been where she originally came from. The voiceover there, it was whispered, "Find the flower." Now, again, it's a callback to the first chapter, and I do think it's referring massively to the Poppy flower in regards to, you know, creating all these creatures and these experiments. But also we do see the first shot of the orphan sort of play care area where they sleep. And of course we've got the green hand and the blue hand again. And it looks like we're having a little puzzle here, as if we're going a little bit in. Yeah, we can see there's a big puzzle there. We've got the green puzzle, so a power hand, and then this power hand. So we'll have another similar puzzle to the one we had with Barry, probably. And that brings back some flashbacks. But we can also see some decrypted furniture, and of course, the headed Bunzo. Now here we see the gas mask. Now, I can't tell necessarily if this is from within Playcare, as in it was given to the children in preparation for something, or it was in a completely different room. But I'm going to guess, and this is why we're going in slow-mo, I feel like this might be on the back of these rooms, so it's for the children. But then that also gives us an interesting thought, because if the gas mask fits for children, then, again, is the player a child? Oh, look, a huggy cushion there as well. Missed that one on the first go. We can see there is some type of cart. Now, remember when I said similar to Barry earlier, I think they're going to be using the code again. And I do wonder if there's going to be another like sort of chain or train type deal. But of course, within this sort of go-kart Formula 1 type Poppy car. And again, I think the gas mask will need to take this, take that, and then go deeper into the game or to the factory. But I do think this is really interesting. Of course, I don't think we're going to be driving it anytime soon. I just think this is going to be a very set path for us to follow. But of course, I think it's aimed for the children. So like I was saying earlier about the mask and the children, I think it's more indication that perhaps we are a child too. But that does look interesting. I can sort of see tracks here. So I'm not going to actually rule out that we don't ride on it like we did with, well, we would have done with Barry. And then, of course, we get to see the toys of the smiling critters. Now we can of course see where the mouth positions are for all the nozzles that would have emitted the gases and stuff, and they just look very alarming. And of course in the area they're in, we can see there's just it's sort of play care related, like a fun time like we saw with PJ when we've done the puzzle with the maze. It's sort of similar looking there, so I imagine this is just a kid proof area. Again, I think we're still in play care. These children have suffered. Ooh. And they've suffered. And then Dr. Harley comes over the voiceover. And of course he talks about catnap. And something that I find quite interesting is the please stay in your beds, follow the lights out protocol. So I wonder if catnap was definitely some type of like monitor, if you will, and then maybe turned even worse. And of course, again, we'll see later in the video that kind of backs up just for the way he presents himself. But this is something that I do want to talk about. So again, on the voiceover, Harley Sawyer says that, you know, catnap, the prototype, he sees the prototype as his god. So again, I think what I was referring to earlier about some kind of like big sort of homage to him is this. I think catnap is the one who built this thing in particular. And the dark thing about this in particular is the skeleton. Now, at first glance, I actually didn't see this, but we can see it is a factory worker with a hard hat, some sort of construction type deal. Again, it would explain all the machinery on the device. I don't know what to call this abomination, but it does explain it. And I think this is part of the dark area that we're getting into with Chapter 3, because also I'd like to note as well that his arms are actually tied together. So bear that in mind for in the next part of the video, well, in the next few segments, because we do see another character treated similarly to this skeleton. And this is what I wonder, did they switch from doing it to humans to the toys? And this chapter is just dark. As you can see, so here we go. We see they're tied up here, and I believe this looks to be another creature. And I do wonder if it's something to do possibly with Bunzo because of the ears, or if it's going to be something to do with Doggy Day or any of the smiling creatures. And again, like we're going to see in the future in the video, again, I think we're seeing the transformation of a type of Doggy Day, if you will. It's going to be very similar. They hoist them up, they're heretics, you see, as Harley says, over the tannoy, or whatever you would call it. But a part of me thinks that what if this could possibly be a human in a sort of character's outfit, and I don't feel like that would be the case, because I can actually see the stitching here. So it's a good shout if you didn't notice the stitching. But I am going to say I think this is going to be one of definitely the creatures, possibly that we might not have seen yet. I do wonder if it's going to be one of the smiling. To be honest, I think I've banked my money more on the smiling critters than anything so far, just because of the way it's designed, especially with the ears. I've not seen anything with a floppy ear as much as possibly one of the smiling creatures, but I don't recall any of the original toys having it like that. So I'm just going to assume it's one of them. These children grow hungry. And of course, we get a new hand, and like I predicted in the last assessment video, I don't know what we called it last time, but it's a jump hand. So, like we saw in the hint of the play tag game mode in Project Playtime, they reused the mechanic here, and this is going to be somewhere where we can project off the floor and basically do it like a double jump, if you will, or something even bigger than that. This just seems to be an area where Poppy's come through up here and spoke to the player again, or there's like some type of cutscene, or it's a small puzzle. But so far, here we go, here's the jump pack, and as I predicted perfectly on the video of this screenshot, we did exactly what I said we were going to do. So the purple hand is going to be a jumping hand and assisted. And also, this is quite an interesting image alone. So we are very all familiar with the idea of Huggy coming back. I mean, it's no secret, I think a lot of us think Huggy is coming back in some sense. And I do agree, I mean, we said it... Oof. How long was that video ago? I think it was like nearly a year or what. It's a long time ago. And we did Huggy's coming back video. And what's interesting is we're seeing him in a different form though. I think this is what Huggy's going to look like after he's been dealt with. Because I think when he fell from originally in Chapter 1, I think the Playtime Co-Critters have got a hold of Huggy and changed him and made him worse, maybe in their vision of him. And again, I think that's what we're looking at here. I think we're looking at maybe a sort of security feed of it or something, or Huggy chasing us through, or I think we will. And then we've got another interesting power puzzle here where it wraps around the hand, which is going to be an interesting dynamic considering we've got the push and that kind of wrap as well. Also out here, looks like that big machine that we're going to interact with. I wonder if that's for something to do with the Poppy essence or how to create some of the creatures. I do think that's going to be something to do with that massively because of the red mist here. I definitely think we're in for something there. And then here we see through the hallways of Playcare, I believe. We're seeing boxes covered up the whole area, and I imagine we're looking back into Playcare. But we can also see some catnap drawings on the walls, and I don't think this is in a very good light of catnap. I think it's actually the orphans drawing him as they are scared of him. So I do wonder if this is sort of round the tipping point of where it goes real south. And of course, the big thing here is Poppy and Kissy Missy. Now, when I saw this, I couldn't believe my eyes. I knew Kissy Missy was going to be coming back in some aspect, but I didn't think this blunt in your face. What's interesting about this shot is the dynamic of the positioning. It's almost as if the player is lying down and they are sort of peering over you, or they're getting the better of you and pinning to the floor, because it looks like, in, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kissy's arms are actually pushing towards you and pushing you, pinning you down to the floor. That's why we can see a top of a frame here, and that's why Poppy is somewhat sort of lecturing us about something, if you will. And Kissy Missy's just happy to be here, you know. She doesn't seem to be very angry. It just seems to be one of those moments of like, you know, stop, wait, think about what you're doing, and I think that, again, that's why they're working together. I did mention in my Kissy Missy video that perhaps she was working with Poppy, and this has now solidified that idea, just because, of course, Kissy left us alone in Chapter 2, and again, I think this is where that connection is. And there you go, and this is how... And of course, there you go, Poppy is now blatantly saying that those toys have tortured her and the other toys. So again, like I said beforehand, there's factions upon factions in here fighting each other. So I don't know who started it all, Elliot or Experiment 1006, but there is something big at play, and I do wonder if we're going to get any hint of that in this chapter. But I do find this super interesting, this dynamic. And of course we've got the lovely Playtime phone, which I do wonder if there's going to be a difference between this one and the one in Project Playtime. I do wonder if they're going to have different codes. I'm not going to be surprised. I definitely think this one's going to play more of a story, perhaps, in Chapter 3, whereas the one in Project Playtime is probably going to do a little bit more lore-sensitive stuff, because it's all going to be secret ARG, perhaps. Oh, celebrate the hour of joy. And then we get a nice, dark, misty gas corridor. Like I mentioned beforehand, we're going to need to grab that gas to come into this area. And, of course, I think that, well, we're going to need to grab that gas mask, sorry. And, of course, this is the effect of it. And one of the interesting things is Poppy's speech there, saying the prototype has to die. Again, I'm still on the fence with Poppy. I think she is not necessarily evil, but I don't think she is innocent either. But the fact that they all want the prototype to pay is quite telling as to what's going on behind the scenes and everything we've already hit so far. So that is interesting. And of course, the big one. And it's something I touched upon in my last video, which I was actually quite surprised to see. And I thought Doggy Day was actually going to be sort of on the wrong side. And this is what I think we're looking at. I think we're looking at what they do to the critters. And we're looking at Doggy Day turned in that way. And it's actually scary. When they said this chapter was going to be scary, I thought they meant in a little bit of like a fluster, not like an absolute fear house. But just from the way that Doggy Daycare runs, I am actually slightly worried about playing the game. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like this is just going to come out of the darkness, and all you're going to see is a set of blinding lights. And no, The Weekend, we're not talking about you. We're talking about Doggy Day coming after us, but I wonder if this is the same story for the majority of the smiling creatures. I think it will be. I think they'll slowly turn, and we'll get some like we saw earlier that don't, and they will always be branded as heretics. But that is super scary. And of course, I just want to touch upon this message here that I think a lot of people would have missed the first time round as well. Interestingly, we have a few claw marks that don't look like they belong to Catnap or anything we know of so far. So perhaps this is another hint of a smiling creature enemy. But also, the message on the wall. Now, I can't make out this first one. But whatever it says, it's something awaits is those who believe. So maybe sleep? Peace. I'm guessing peace awaits. Peace awaits is those who believe, although it don't make too sense. But yeah, that's all I can sort of get from that. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. You think that. And of course, we get the big reveal of Catnap, and I am absolutely in awe of the design and the absolute disfigurement of Catnap. The experiment, the prototype, must have done some dark things to Catnap and Theodore, and I think that's just obvious just from the way that we can see his shape. Now, interestingly, as I saw him, I actually thought of a giraffe because of the legs, and I don't know why, but it's just probably because they're super long. But interestingly enough, I think it kind of somewhat resembles Huggy's sort of shape. Now, I wonder if, again, these toys at some point will just totally merge with each other, but I think this is what we're looking at that's going to be patrolling the level at perhaps night, which is going to be, I reckon, the Hour of Joy or something similar. And this is just absolutely petrifying. I am super pumped for this. But that was my breakdown of the Poppy Playtime trailer, or gameplay trailer, whatever they're titling there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you disagree with any of my thoughts or agree with them. And again, share what you think in the comments below. I am super pumped for Chapter 3. I cannot wait to play it for everyone and play it for myself, because I think there is so much going on here that it's actually kind of worrying, to say the least, because I just think there is just a lot to talk about and a lot of darkness going on in this chapter. And again, I'm really interested to see where they're going with the whole heretic arc, if you will. But of course, again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, I'm going to have a lot more Poppy videos coming out in between now and the release, because I have a few ideas about completely the story and where it's going, and I think I've actually got a good indication of where it is going to go. So make sure you hit subscribe for that, and of course I will see you all in the next Poppy video. Bye!